Hi guys, it's Rach. Today I'm going to be doing another top 5 video for you. I've already done top 5 mascaras and top 5 neutral nail polishes. Today is going to be a top 5 matte eyeshadow palettes. So I'm just talking about the best matte eyeshadow palettes that I've used and telling you why I like them. I will have listed all the products I talk about in the description box below, as well as prices and where you can get them. So make sure you check out that for any extra information that I may miss talking about in this video. And while you're there, why not check out my social media links? Come say hi to me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I would love to see you guys there. But for now, let's get on to the video. Okay, coming in at number 5, I have put these in kind of favorites order. It was really difficult, and I do love all of them and would highly recommend all of them. But for number 5, I actually have 2 palettes that are kind of similar and I like for different reasons. The first one is the Urban Decay Naked Basics palette. This one, here you have 6 eyeshadows. They're all matte bar this very first shade, which is kind of more of a satin finish. And you have your neutral colors here, everything from a really light highlight all the way to a matte black. And that is what I like about this palette. It's compact, it's easy to travel with. The quality of the eyeshadows isn't too bad. I find they kick up a lot of powder, and Urban Decay matte eyeshadows aren't the best quality on the market. But these ones do a decent job, and I love the versatility of this palette. I have so many different eyeshadow palettes and so many different eyeshadows that's rare that I ever actually make a dint in any of them, but this one I certainly have, and it's because of how versatile and how useful it is. You have these shades here which can be used as mid-tone transition colors. You can even use this as a contour on the face. You can use these in your brows. You've got the black that you can use as a liner. You've got these lighter shades here. I love how you've got a matte and a slightly satin highlight there. It's a very versatile palette, and if you are just looking for that do-all, keep in your bag because you can kind of do anything with it, light looks, dark looks, mixing it with other eyeshadow palettes, you can't really go wrong with this one from Urban Decay. Its tie or its partner is the BECCA Ombre Nudes palette. Now this one, I think the quality of the eyeshadows is better. You do also have a nice mirror there, nice sleek packaging. You have here 5 shades, and they range from just sort of, well, like it says, an ombre of nude to brown shades there. This shade here is quite dark, but you are missing a matte black shade, and you're also missing a light highlight shade. I find that this shade here is just, it's not light enough for people with fair to light skin tones like myself to be a highlight. It's more like an all over lid shade if you want to use that as a base for blending, but I find that it's just not quite light, which is why I like the quality of the shadows better in this one, but I feel like the shades are more versatile in the Urban Decay Naked Basics. Overall, it is a really nice palette, and you can do some really nice looks with it. Coming in at number 4 is the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty, this has a really long name, Naturally Pretty Volume 1 Matte Luxe Transforming Eyeshadow Palette. It's a doozy. The packaging of this one isn't quite as nice. It does have that like thick cardboard, and it's got like this kind of material finish to it. I don't mind it, but I know that some people absolutely hate it, and it can definitely get dirty. However, for me, packaging is not the be all and end all. It's what you get inside that makes the palette. Here you get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 eyeshadows plus the transforming pearl shade, which can be used to make any of these shadows more shimmery. I like this on its own as a highlight, and what I like about these shades here is that they are all quite muted, quite creamy in finish. The formula of these eyeshadows might not be considered the greatest by some, particularly if you like really pigmented, really bold eyeshadows, because I find that all these shades are quite muted. However, I think that that's actually a good thing. I find that they're really easy to use. All the colors go with each other, even these ones that look a little bit more colorful, I'd say. They still kind of create quite neutral looks. You do get that color, but like I said, it is a muted color. The other thing I find with the formula of these eyeshadows is that they're matte, but they're almost a creamy matte. So for those of you who may have quite wrinkly eyelids, maybe if you're older and you can find that sometimes a normal flat matte eyeshadow can almost exacerbate the fine lines and make them look worse. I think that this palette does a good job of almost smoothing over that. So I think if you're new to makeup, or if you're older and are dealing with sort of fine lines around the eyes, these eyeshadows would actually work really well for you. And overall, I just think it's a really nice It's a nice palette, nice shades, easy to use. Some of the darker shades can be a tiny bit choppy, but overall they blend quite nicely. So I would recommend that palette from IT Cosmetics. Number 3 on my favorites list is the Tarte Tartelette palette. Again, we have some stunning packaging here. You have a really nice big mirror. It's usable. It does hold itself up so you can sort of prop it on a counter while you're traveling and use it. It's a decent size there. The purple with the gold packaging is very, very luxe. You do have here 12 eyeshadows that range in, they're generally neutral. You have some more cooler shades, some more warmer shades. You have a black, you have some highlights there, some more purpley tones, which I find are the most flattering color on most eye shades. You also have the name of the shades written on the palette, which I find is highly preferable, particularly if you're a YouTuber or a blogger and are constantly referencing back to the shade names. It's very, very helpful. And overall, the quality of these shadows is really, really good. They're quite pigmented. They're not quite as creamy and buttery as some of the other 2 palettes that I'm about to show you guys, but really, really nice pigmentation there, easy to blend, easy to work with, and just some fabulous shades overall. You can just create some really, really nice looks with this palette. Would highly recommend it. Unfortunately, Tarte is only available at Sephora here in Australia, and we don't currently have an online store. So if you're not in Sydney, it can be a little bit hard to get your hands on it. However, more Sephoras are opening up. There's one opening up in Melbourne later this year, and I'm sure there'll be more opening up around Australia. And fingers crossed that they get a online store soon too. For those of you in the States, obviously you can pick it up in US Sephora, and then I know that Sephora.com does ship to certain places like in the UK and other countries, so if you do want to try it out, definitely have a look at it. It retails for $64 in Australia, which isn't too bad a price, particularly since you are getting 12 really, really nice usable eyeshadows. There was a little bit of a battle for positions 1 and 2 because both are really, really great products and they both have their pros and their cons, but coming in at number 2 is probably my newest palette at the moment. It's the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Contour palette. This is a gorgeous palette. You have again some neutral shades, some warmer shades and darker shades. You also have some cooler shades. You also have light and dark shades as well. You have 3 really big shades here, which I find are really, really useful to also be used on the face, not just on the eyes. This shade works great for contouring. This shade here you can use to set your under eye makeup or as a bit of a matte highlight shade. They're really, really pigmented. Even like this white is just stunning. It's a very, very versatile palette. The packaging on this one is sort of a bit of a downgrade again. It is that thick sort of cardboard packaging, not too bad. The mirror doesn't hold itself up, so that's not as useful as it could be, but it is sort of nice, sturdy enough packaging overall. And I mean, the quality of these blend really well. They're really, really pigmented. They're easy to use. I thoroughly would recommend this palette, and I think that no matter what, you're going to find some use for it, even if you have a ridiculous amount of matte eyeshadow palettes like me. Now coming in at number 1, this is probably not going to be a shock to those of you, particularly if you have used this palette before. It's the VISEART Basics Neutrals Matte Palette. I don't know the exact name, I always get it wrong, but it'll be on the screen and in the description box below. Here again you have 12 matte eyeshadows ranging from cool to warm and also light to dark. Really, really pigmented shades here. These just blend like butter, and they are like just, you only have to touch them and so much pigment comes off on them. I think that this palette is just one of those, particularly if you love your eyeshadow formulation and that is something that's important to you, then it's worth splurging on this palette. It doesn't have a mirror, but it does have sort of nice plastic sturdy packaging there. I do think it's definitely on the pricey side. It's probably the most expensive of all these palettes, coming in at around sort of $89 to $95 depending on where you buy it. There are a few different places that you can get this palette online, as well as I know you can get it in store at the PM Studio store here in Sydney, so it is a little bit easier to get your hands on rather over the Kat Von D one, which is one of the sort of points in the favour. Kat Von D is only available at Sephora, which again, same issues as the Tarte palette in terms of trying to get it, whereas at least this one you can find websites that will ship around Australia. But overall, I don't think you can get past the quality of the eyeshadows in these VISEART palettes. They're outstanding. I actually have another one from this range, and I would love to get all of them. They have a bright colourful one which I think would be just amazing. Really good quality shadows, and for those of you who are sort of at that makeup artist level or who are really partial to eyeshadow formula and you find that that's the most important thing to you, then this palette is your go-to for matte neutral eyeshadows. So they are my top 5 matte neutral eyeshadow palettes. I did want to mention one other option that you may have. I don't have all of the Makeup Geek matte eyeshadows, but I do have a few here in my palette, and what I can say is that if you were looking to maybe create your own matte eyeshadow palette and that you're on a bit of a budget, I would highly recommend the Makeup Geek formula. I think they work really well. They are good quality, they are inexpensive, and you could pick and choose which matte eyeshadow colors that you would like. It's a great alternative if maybe some of these aren't in your price range or that you don't have the option to get them where you are. So that about wraps up this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you have a recommendation for a matte eyeshadow palette or even like trio or duo that you think I should check out, definitely leave it for me in the comments below so I can see your recommendations and so everybody else can. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really does help me out, and subscribe if you are new so you don't miss a future video. Other than that, I'm gonna go. I hope you guys are all doing really well, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Okay, bye!